More than 4,500 years ago, in the middle of the Egyptian desert, a colossal monument rose to defy time itself. No machines, no steel, no modern technology. Yet the ancient Egyptians managed to lift millions of stone blocks, each weighing tons, to unimaginable heights. Was it thanks to giant ramps, secret passageways, or perhaps a long-lost technology? Some even speculate about the hand of extraterrestrials. So how exactly were the pyramids built? To understand how the pyramids were constructed, we first need to travel back more than 4,500 years to the era of Egypt's Old Kingdom. This was a time when the pharaohs were not only political rulers, but were also revered as living gods on earth. For them, death was not the end, but merely a doorway to an eternal world. And the pyramid was the bridge between these two realms. Around 2600 BC, during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, also known as Chaos, Egypt embarked on one of the most ambitious projects in human history, the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This was not just the king's tomb, but the ultimate symbol of power, religion, and the genius of an entire civilization. To grasp the monumental scale of this structure, imagine this. The Great Pyramid originally stood about 480 feet tall, roughly the height of a 50-story skyscraper. It was built from around 2,300,000 stone blocks with a total estimated weight of 6.5 million tons. Each block weighed on average between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds, while some granite blocks used in the inner chambers weighed up to 80,000 pounds. If you lined up all these stones into a wall about 10 feet high and 3 feet thick, the wall would stretch nearly 1,800 meters, about the distance from Cairo to Rome. What's astonishing is that this entire project was completed in only about 20 years. That means on average the ancient Egyptians had to transport, shape, and precisely place nearly 300 blocks every single day, a feat almost unimaginable, even by today's technological standards. The Great Pyramid is not only impressive in size, but also in its incredible technical precision. Its sides are almost perfectly aligned with the four cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. The margin of error is only about 360 of a degree, unbelievably small for conditions 4.5 millennia ago. The base of the pyramid forms an almost perfect square, each side measuring more than 755 feet, with the difference in length between sides being just a few inches. The stones are fitted so tightly that even a razor blade can barely slip through the joints. This has left generations of scholars, explorers, and modern researchers asking, how could a civilization without metal wheels, without steel, without cranes or engines achieve such extraordinary precision? The answer lies not only in technology, but also in social and religious context. For the Egyptians, building a pyramid was not just an architectural project, but a sacred duty. Pharaoh Khufu was seen as the living embodiment of the god Horus on earth. His death meant the eternal continuation of his rule in the heavens. Thus, constructing his tomb was not just about building a burial site, but about ensuring the eternal order of the cosmos. The entire kingdom mobilized for this endeavor. Not only craftsmen and seasonal farmers took part, but a whole organizational system was created to feed, manage, and oversee tens of thousands of workers. Modern archaeology has uncovered a workers' village near Giza with remains of communal kitchens, bakeries, and even a cemetery dedicated to those who died during construction. This shows it was not a project of brutal slave labor, but rather a national enterprise where workers were paid, cared for, and honored for contributing to the sacred monument of the king. Placing the Great Pyramid in its historical context makes it even more extraordinary. When Giza rose, much of the outside world was still in the dawn of civilization. The cemetery even contained carefully built tombs, showing that workers were buried with honor as a tribute to their contribution. This proves that pyramid builders were not enslaved laborers, but an organized workforce compensated with food rations and respected within society. They may have been farmers who joined seasonally when the Nile flooded and farming was impossible. During that time, they devoted their strength to the national project, then returned to their villages when the planting season resumed. It was a smart system, both solving surplus labor and mobilizing the entire nation for a monumental endeavor. Researchers estimate that around 20,000 to 30,000 workers built the Great Pyramid, not the hundreds of thousands of slaves many once believed. This workforce was structured in tiers. Skilled craftsmen specialized in carving stone, surveying, and design. Seasonal farmers made up the bulk, performing general labor. Managers and engineers coordinated and supervised the project. Priests and royal architects ensured the sacred and ritual aspects of construction. This clear division of roles turned pyramid building into a giant construction site with an organizational level not unlike that of a modern state. What's remarkable is that for the ancient Egyptians, pyramid construction was not just labor, but a religious duty. They believed the pharaoh was the embodiment of divinity, and building his tomb was also a way of safeguarding the eternal order of the cosmos. Thus, taking part in pyramid building was both a responsibility and an honor. The Great Pyramid of Giza is made up of about 2,300,000 blocks of stone. Most of the limestone was quarried right on the Giza Plateau, only a few hundred yards from the monument. However, the fine white limestone used for the outer casing came from the Tura quarries more than 8 miles away, while the enormous granite blocks used inside the chambers came all the way from Aswan, nearly 560 miles south of Giza. Transporting such an enormous quantity of materials was such a feat that without explanation, many might easily believe it required supernatural technology or the help of aliens. But archaeology and modern science have provided far more reasonable theories. One of the most important pieces of evidence comes from an ancient wall carving that shows Egyptians hauling a colossal statue on a sled. At the front of the sled, a man is seen pouring water onto the sand. For many years, this detail was interpreted as a ritual symbol, but recent research revealed it was actually a technical secret. Beyond moistening sand, the Egyptians may also have built special tracks of compacted mud or wooden pathways to move the stones. Archaeological evidence at Hatnub, a limestone quarry in central Egypt, uncovered a system of ramps and grooves believed to have been used to haul blocks up steep slopes. These grooves may have helped stabilize the sleds, while ropes and wooden levers allowed workers to adjust the pulling force more efficiently. This shows that Egyptian transport techniques did not rely on brute strength alone, but also on clever use of basic physics, leverage, friction, and pulling force. Another theory strongly supported by archaeological evidence is that the Egyptians relied on the Nile River and a system of man-made canals to transport stone. The pyramids are proof of humanity's extraordinary potential. They show that with faith, organization, and creativity, humans can achieve accomplishments beyond imagination. The pyramids are not just stacked stones. They are humanity's challenge to time itself. For 4,500 years, they have stood as an unsolved mystery, reminding us that intelligence and belief can create wonders. But could there still be doors hidden beneath those stones that have yet to be opened? The answer may still be waiting for us deep within the sands of Egypt. If you're curious and fascinated by these mysteries, leave us a comment below. Thank you for watching.